little rough. There's a lot of tear. So, you know, I've sanded it down and revarnished it and that, and it looks like I still have more to do, but sorry. But there's still rough right in this area right here. So I have some more work to do on that. How do you get rid of this wetness? I've stuck this in my microwave. I had it in the sawdust chips.
You just have to be patient and let it dry.
And patience is not one of my virtues.
You gotta dry it before you put a finish on it.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why you sand it, you know? Because you practice with that. Okay, this, I've been working with Jim Andresen, and I'm starting to do segmented bowls. And this is a 24-piece ring. It's made out of oak. And just getting this far, I thought it was pretty good. I needed to get a better base. My lathe died, so I had to get a new one, and so I had to get another chuck and jaws that fits the new lathe. And what I want to do with this is have a cover that kind of comes up like this with a circle, just a circle in the center, and a one-piece oak, you know, ring around the top. So I still have work to do on this, but as far as working with it, the easy part that I think on segmented walls is cutting out the pieces of wood and gluing it together. That's the easy part, because you have a jig and you just keep zipping them out and then glue it together, and then the hard part comes in getting the shape. And there's a little spot here, there's a little spot down here, and it's got to be finished. That's my work in progress.
So someone made this suggestion that we do this by rows. So to make things simple, let's start with the first row.
This is the most ambitious thing I've ever tried. And it's the last piece of honey locust I have. 15 years ago, a guy gave me a log, and I had a saw, and 2, 3, and 4-inch pieces, and this is the last piece I have. So it's been air dried for a while. I did the outside. A friend of mine brought some mushroom soup over. We consumed it and got the idea to do it like this. So he turned the dust collector on, sucked the smoke out of the place, and then he was going to try and pull up a picture. I took and leg screwed this to a 3-foot 2x12 because it's for a counterweight. This weighed 9.6 pounds when I started. I measured from the center of here. I mean, from the center of my bowl to the center of my chuck. So I could turn this and still have it centered for my chuck. I leg screwed it on one side of the 2x12 and took a fly cutter and cut a groove on the other side of the 2x12 and put my chuck. And it's 3 foot long. So then I balanced it like you do with your lawnmower blade. I cut about 2.5 inches off the 2x12, and it just sat there real nice. The first one, they kept moving on my chuck. So after that, I leg screwed the chuck to the 2x12. So it wouldn't move either. So then I turned the next bowl around and put a leg screw. I got the center leg screwed and I put one on the side so this would not turn. And then it spun like this. And that's what I got.
See there, let me get some pictures. I couldn't have you on the screen and the pictures.
Of Ford turning? Yeah, I hung it over the end of my lathe. If he brings a picture up. I have a friend, he has his lathe at my place. I dragged his lathe over in front of mine. And used his tool rest to turn this. Because there's no way I'm gonna stand out there and turn with my tool in midair. I had given him a couple pictures, front and back side. He can't get them up.
Sorry.
If you're interested, I have them on my iPad.
This is also very much a work in progress, which is either going to be kind of interesting or a colossal failure. So, quick backstory. I want to enter this in the AAW symposium's little exhibition that they have, and it's due by this Saturday. So, shake away. But their theme is content. So I started thinking about different kind of containers that humans have used over time, you know, leather pouches, clay pots, baskets, what have you. Gourds, exactly. So the rules are your piece has to be turned, but it can have other things as well. So use your imaginations here, and here's what I'm trying to do. So any advice or feedback, and if you think this doesn't work for you, that's fine too, because you know, I'm not sure it even works for me, but I've got some time invested, so. All right, so my idea was to kind of combine 3 of these different kind of containers into one piece. So I'm combining kind of an abstract wood version of like a little leather pouch kind of thing, and a kind of a vase, amphora kind of idea, and a basket. So I turned this is the pouch part, and cut it in half, and I'm in the process now of kind of carving it to give it the look of folds, and you know, like you gather a piece of cloth or whatever together, it folds over. So I'm in the process of that. So then this is the vase amphora thing, still has a few things to do with it, but it's also going to get cut in half down the center like this. And they're turned to basically the same diameter and profile. So imagine this is out. This is going to fit in against that. So then the bottom's going to be completely open, and that's where I'm going to use probably some strips of veneer and make like a basket weave kind of thing to finish it off. So that's my idea, and I've never done anything vaguely like this before. I'm not a carver, I'm not a basket weaver, or any of that. So I don't know how this is going to go, but it's got to go fast because I got some pictures of it at my Saturday. So anyway, there's no time for mistakes. So anyway, just you know, any feedback or thoughts, anybody who's done anything vaguely like that or done any incorporating of basket or whatever into your stuff, but you know, any thoughts you have, I would appreciate it because there's a lot of experience and a lot of talent in the room, and I'm a pretty new with Turner, so I'm open to any feedback you wanna give, so. That's my work in progress, and if it comes together, I'll bring pictures of it, you know, next month or something, so.
So I brought 3 pieces in. These are finished pieces. The simplest one is this little piece here, which I understand is honey locust. And it has this patina inside. I demoed this patina a few months ago, maybe it was early last year. And so nice little piece. And simple.
Wave it some more.
Hard.
Wave it around some more.
Pretty still. Sorry. This piece, I may have brought this piece in earlier, but I didn't remember, so I decided to bring it in. Nevertheless, this is an old piece that I believe it's oak or ash. I really can't tell. It's fairly old. It's sort of beat up, but I thought it would be really, really interesting to turn. It did turn out really, really nice. This has some carving on the top surface, texturing. I did that with my, I have a small little high-speed HBK or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but it's a super high-speed dental tool, actually. And so I was able to carve all the little texture on the top surface. The inside of it, there we go. Yeah. Has a whole bunch of gears in it, so it has this sort of funky steampunk look to it. The gears are actually on different levels, and then the whole thing is flooded with a clear resin. And the resin that I use for this particular one is called art resin, but almost any resin would really work. It's a 2-part resin. You mix it, pour it in. It has millions of bubbles, but you torch it real quick, and they all go away. The bottom is a little turned sort of finial, which I used Gilder's paste on to give it sort of a funky, sort of a coppery look. And the legs are brass. If I can. Okay, that wasn't me, that was you moving sound.
Yeah.
And on this piece, the brass legs took me twice as long to do than to actually make the bowl. The bowl was fairly simple. The legs took me forever. I'm not a master metalsmith, but nevertheless, they turned out pretty decent. So that's bowl number 2. This one I just finished. This is a piece of walnut. It's one of Tony's pieces that I was able to acquire. It has this wonderful inclusion in it. There we go. That looks really kind of neat. The legs are little copper. They've been hammered and painted and then sanded down. The top of it, let's see if I can get this here, has iridescent tiles in it. And also I flooded that with resin. I used to make these in which the tiles just sat on their own and they were grouted. But wood moves around and the grout breaks all the time. So I decided just to glue the tiles down with a silicone adhesive caulk, and then I flood that top surface with the resin, and it turned out pretty cool. So those are my 3 pieces.
So most of my projects have been spindle related projects this year. And the joke always is with me that I can't turn everything twice, so every one of these had to be different, a different wood. So this one here is cherry. This is spalted maple. This one is elm. And this one is I got a cheap mulberry. Mulberry. These are all gifts I made for my kids this year. And these are all woodcraft kits. This one is sculpted apple. And this one is mulberry.
Did you get the apple or did you, how long do you let that dry?
All of these pieces would have been in my garage for 10 years. So, I harvested them all myself. And I have quite a collection.
Yeah.
And then I made these 6 of these for my grandkids.
No.
And this is red cedar on the top. And maple. And then the nose is red cedar also. And I've been working with one of our new members, Joe Kohler. And I taught him how to turn a bowl, and this is the one I turned. While he was learning how to turn his first bowl. And with that said, I'll let Joe come up now.
My name's Joe Kohler. Obviously, I'm the newest, one of the newest members, besides somebody else in there. I did come to Thursday, last November's meeting, really enjoyed it, and had no problem signing up this year. I just started returning back in, I think it was in June. My son was getting married and he wanted to do a donut wall as the desserts. And I'm like, we're not putting sticks on wood and on a board and putting it out there. So I knew Jim for many years. We've been friends, neighbors, even coworkers for a while. But kind of with having the kids and stuff like that, we kind of lost touch a little bit. I called him up and I says, hey, I got a really easy project. Can you help me? And he's like, well, what is it, Joe? So he comes over, I said, we're gonna make these candlesticks and we're going to put sticks on top. We're gonna use them for donuts. And so I made 12 of them. He made me make 12 of them. I thought I'd start a couple and he'd show me how to do it and we both get them done. But when I met with them, I gave him my idea. He has several lathes at home. I've seen him doing some work. We've worked with them with my sons and Pinewood Derby and stuff like that. Since June and much more since September, Jim has been my mentor. He's taught me a lot in a short period of time. I'm enjoying what I see up here. I'm just astonished. I'm hoping one day I'll get that good. But what I wanted to show you, one of my pride and joys was January 1st. Hungover, maybe not. We did a lot. Jim and I did a lot of. He showed you some of the spindle turning we did, and to me, I really wanted to do a bowl. And that was something, and I said, hey, listen, I have $50,000 Christmas presents, and I got something else to show. This is the first bowl I've ever turned. I'm very proud of it. It is one of Jim's 10-year-old maples. It came actually from his tree in his yard and fell down. It was pretty cool because Jim had 2 lathes side by side, and he has another lathe in the back that he typically uses, and I use one by him. We do usually a shop day a week. Around Christmas time, we got to be 2 or 3 times a week to get all our projects done. But it was kind of neat because I've never turned a bowl. I was excited to learn. So Jim was on a lathe right next to me. I was able to go and watch him. We were kind of doing them together. Like I said, he did his out of mulberry. This is just a was it a maple? I'm really impressed. I mean, you guys might look and think, okay, this is simple and easy. The wood itself, the way the bowl and the accents in it, you can see it, really turned out nice. Finishing the bottom was the first time I ever did that. I wanted more of a flat finish. I did do a little concave, so it sits there and thing. I brought it home and my wife says, okay, I need 8 more of these. I'm like, there's no way you're gonna get 8 of these in the same way. But this is pretty cool. I learned a lot. It's not perfect, but in my mind, it's the first one I ever did, and I'm really proud of it. So, and again, Jim had taught me a lot about the wood turning, and I'm anxious to do another bowl. This is the first of hopefully many. The other project that I worked on was he's turning all these nice cool things. This I saw online. It's an angel. Simple, if you guys are finding does your salt and pepper shaker type of thing, that's really all it is. This is out of a maple, piece of maple I bought. I did the front part of it, I did the whole body, did it round. And then to finish it off, I've been looking all over for angel wings. I went to every place I could find. I ended up going to Home Depot. Excuse me, Hobby Lobby. These are white poinsettia leaf. It's off of a plant. I cut it. Jim's like, Joe, how are we gonna do this? We practiced a little bit. But what I ended up doing is I drilled a hole in the back. I put the wings and each wing has a different shape. We put the wings in the back. And then what I ended up doing is I turned them more of a button opposed to the nose like you did with the gnomes. And pushed it in there, glued it together. And we're sitting there looking at it. We're all pretty happy of it. And then the last thing Jim pulls up is he put the halo on. He found the halo is nothing more than a welding wire. He had up in his rafters, pulled it, put it together, and I drilled that in the back. I gave it to my wife for Christmas, and I could have spent $1 million on any gift for her, and this is probably her most favorite. So again, I'm learning a lot with this wood turning. I'm expecting, as I look at this stuff here and see what you guys are all doing, I'm very, very impressed. I'm very inspired. And I'm looking forward to being part of this group.
Does she want people?
What's that? Well, we'll go with one at a time. As I told her, so we'll be something different, but it's very nice. Thank you.
My name is Rock Little, so a new member. I did a couple of these projects. I've been putting around with wood turning kind of on my own, kind of seeing stuff on YouTube or books, whatever, and not really having a lot of progress. I did do a segmented bowl, and I found it was really hard to get a kind of a smooth surface and all that. So I finally decided I'd sign up for a class. So last year I went to a Jimmy Clues wood turning class at Mark Adams, and it was really, really good. And so these are a couple of examples. So I don't take full credit for knowing what I was doing, but these were some of the things that I did do. So this one was really neat. So it's a scoop you could use for coffee, whatever. So you do the spindle part, but you have to make it a really kind of smooth ball part, which was, I thought, kind of challenging, but it was fun to do to make it round. And then you put it in a jig where you kind of offset it a little bit. So this handle's spinning around like that. It's kind of freaking you out because it's just flying around and fairly close to your hands and all that. So I was a little nervous about that, but eventually end up doing the carve out of the circle part, which I thought was pretty good. So didn't get it as smooth or deep as I wanted, but this is maple, so I found it was pretty hard to turn it. But it turned out really good. And then the final part, which I really thought was pretty neat, is the designs here with the different colors. You use a wire, which I never knew that you did. You just kind of like wrap it around there, so it's almost like wood burning, so you can kind of make the design. And so I like it. It was a fun project, and I thought I learned a lot, and I never really knew that you could do this kind of work with a lathe, so it was just kind of a fun thing to do. So I enjoyed that, learned a lot from that too. The other piece, this is out of walnut, and I always like that kind of the live edge kind of a thing. So you literally just take a log and you cut it into the half, and you do the surfacing around the outside part, and then that wasn't too bad, I thought. Just want to make sure that you don't totally take off all the bark, which is obviously part of the design. But then when you do the flipping part, this I thought was pretty hard because you need to kind of get in and do that curve to get it in smooth, and making sure that you have your tool the right way and that piece of it I thought was also challenging, but you learned a lot, and it turned out good. The final piece, you just have kind of like the regular round part that fits on the chuck, and there was an idea you could kind of come up with your own carving, so like a little base where there's like the 3 triangles, you can do the carving part. So I like that too. So it kind of sits flat like that. So it turned out well. So it was a fun project. I liked it a lot. So really here to again learn and see what everybody does and get some ideas, and hopefully focus a little bit more on this project I've been wanting to do for a while. So thank you.
How's everybody doing? I'm Fred Bruce. I've been turning for about a year and a half, maybe. And I've had some really disasters, things falling apart, trying to get things too thin. had a bullet hit the wife's car. It was not good. But, you know, I had some major issues that I'm here to learn. And really, I see, from what I see, there's a lot of knowledge here. I've been enthused by what was going on in November's show here. So I tried to turn some of the boxes, and these are box elders. And they're ingrains. And kind of tough to turning them in. Major disasters on a couple of them. So, you know, anybody turning box elder realizes that you can have them crack out real fast. This one here is probably the best one I've had that came out. It's had some problem with the ring, so I put a walnut ring on it. To, you know, get it back in, but it did crack, so I had to put some resin in there. But that's pretty much it. That's what I tried to do. I'm gonna keep trying to turn. My finish is not as good as I was hoping for, but ingrained is kind of tough. So I have a hard time getting that smooth. But that's what I got. Thank you.
Hi, I'm just visiting today.
So yes.
Yeah. So I'm fairly new at carving too. I retired a few years ago, and so I'm really a wood carver, so I thought I'd try out, you know, turning. So I went to the Senior Citizens Center in Kenosha, and they teach how to turn bowls and stuff. So last year I started, and I have 7 brothers and sisters, so they all got a bowl for Christmas. So they definitely enjoyed it. So this is one of my segment bowls. I basically I use butcher block oil for the finish, so that you can use food and stuff on it. And so that's about it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dennis Mortal. I've been turning sporadically for at least 25 years. And taken a couple of classes, and you're at Aeromont last fall, actually. We took a class of Jacques Besseray. He's really noted for surface texturing and painting. And so, and shapes. You know, and so one of the things we did is we started out turning shapes. Get the curves right.
Dennis, I'm gonna have you move back into the
Oh, I'm
lighting.
sorry. Okay, yeah, I was watching everybody else do this. Say, no, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, right here. So we just practice turning shapes to get the shapes right in here. Try to turn it, you know, turn a half a dozen of them, lay it out. And, well, what could you do to make it better? You know, and then this one was carved and burned. And since the burning is extensive, you end up using a very high powered wood burner, probably has 3 times as much power as what the normal ones that you get. And so this is one of them we made. And this tip, you know, gets just orange and you get smoke off it when you're looking at it. And so here's 2 pieces. This one has leaf forms on it. And there's, you know, like the segmented turners, there's probably 20 coats of paint on here. And this one is another one with, you know, with leaf forms on it. And this one is thin enough so that it burns through. But that's okay. These are just other sample pieces, just for playing around to see how it would work. And you always start this out with, after the board is put India ink on it to make it black. So that you start out with an even surface. So like when you finish, you know, you always sand, you get it all the same. You know, you get all the scratches out, make it all the same. Well, if you're painting, you want the background all the same. So India ink works really well. Later, my daughter wanted some pens made, so I was, okay. So I tried the wood burning on, you know, just blanks. And these could easily, these are too small, but these could easily be used for pen blanks. You know, you'd start out with a 3/4 dowel that you'd get upstairs for a couple bucks, and you go there and you just burn them and paint them. And this is a morph of these projects. You know, it's carved, but the painting is the same. You know, and the carving is the same. It's just, you know, a different canvas. You know, and so there's you can, you know, adapt these things to all sorts of other projects. Yeah, got a question?
Yeah, there's another piece that you put the holes in or from back here, it looks like it was also carved and.
Say that again?
The piece that had holes in, you burned holes in, you said you had a couple holes that you burned in?
Yes.
Okay, it also looked like there was carving.
There's not carving on the inside.
No, on the outside.
On the outside, these started up, this was a, you know, the quintessential, you know, parabolic form. And I then carved in the leaf, you burn outline, and then you carve with a rotary carver, and then you go back and reburn. And then you make it black, and then you start putting the paint on. You know, if you guys are interested in this, we can, you know, some night, you know, we can talk about doing this, and we can talk about, you know, color wheels and color theory, you know, so that you know what colors go together and how to mix them. You know, you can't, it's hard to get 20 different shades of the color that, you know, out of tubes, but you can mix them pretty easily if you understand the color wheel. So if you're interested in doing that, you know, we could do that sometime. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, I can do it, you know, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely.
I don't want you to think I was trying to hog the show, but I haven't been here for 6, 7, 8 months. A little overhauling of the body. And so I brought a few different things. I've been turning, I started turning about 55 years ago. It's been a fun trip. And I think what's interesting about it is I still learn something every time I turn another piece of wood. Just, you know, infinite variety. And fun. We have a cooperative gallery in Racine that we've been involved in for, we're going on our 24th year. And it's been fun to produce and to sell. I get as much kick out of selling as I almost as I can make it. I about 4 years ago bought a robust pony, a scalp blade, the smaller one, and have been having an awful lot of fun with that tool. It works very well. And I had a friend in church who gave me some fiddleback maple boards that were about 50 years old. And they've been aging. It was actually aged coloration on the outside on a lot of them. You cut through it, you almost get a two-tone. And my finish for the last 25 years has been velvet oil. If you used it, and I've never had a problem with the stuff I sold with the velvet oil. And I use 3 coats, wipe off after you put a coat on, after you sanded it down to where you want it, put a coat on. And I have learned that the first coat should be a little sparing. If you get carried away with the first coat, you load the wood to the point where it bleeds out. And all of a sudden you've got a complexion problem, where you've got little dimples and bumps all over. So a little easier on it, about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, wipe off all the finish on the surface. And then I have a bed of nails that I have and run a floor fan. And just move a little cool, room temperature air over it. Dries real well, uniform. 3 coats, 24 hours between coats, and then letting it dry a day or 2, and then buffing it out. Just decided to add a little embellishment on this. I don't do much of that. That's a piece of desert ironwood that I say here. Just to add a little bit. Well, I probably make about as many yarn bowls as anything else. About 4 years ago, we were traveling southwest, stopped in Taos, New Mexico, and hit all the galleries, got tired of that. And my wife said it was time to check out the yarn shop. And this Kathy is a high-end yarn shop. It was skeins of yarn. That was 4 years ago. They were pretty close to $100 a skein. Stuff that she was selling. And Lois asked her, "Do you sell yarn bowls?" She had a funny look and she said, "It's funny you asked that." She said, "I got one. And the fellow just told me he's not going to make them anymore." So my wife said, "You don't get your phone out and show her what you're doing." I just started making them that year. I know why he quit. He never learned how. Because I don't know how you could ever get yarn out of the bowl. Because there were splinters, a quarter of an inch long inside. It must have been about 80 grit paper, and then a little deft on it or something. This particular yarn bowl, this is New Mexico cedar. There's a piece of cedar that I bought at a shop right next to hers. And it's interesting because you start checking the bottom on it. The growth ring is on there. I haven't counted them, but I'd say there's 100 in here, about that much. Very slow growing, but some nice growth.
Yeah.
And I shipped her half a dozen yarn bowls on her request on a regular basis. I had a lot of fun with it. This is another Southwest product. We got in contact with a Native American down there that could harvest wood off reservation or federal land. And this is alligator juniper burl that they harvested, high altitude, huge old trees that have been probably standing dead for the last 300-400 years. And they don't rot, and that's alligator juniper burl. I've got some northern Wisconsin maple that a potter in our artist gallery, the cooperative gallery we have in the same is building a home up north, Hudson Gray. I've never seen maple colored quite like that. It's got a beautiful grayish, silvery cast to it. Hard to see the color. That's I started using Starbond, they call it super thin CNA. And that stuff is just about like alcohol, very, very thin. But I saturated that bark in there, in the maple. You know, if you're sanding maple, which is hard, you run over bark, you're gonna wallow it off. It's gonna go every which direction. I found that with using that CNA to fortify it, to really stabilize it, you can run your hand across there, and you can't tell there's bark there if you don't look at it. So it works, and it works very well. This is a piece, I got a pretty good sized block of this. This is vaulted maple burl. And pretty funky. And I've been stabilizing with this with the CNA also. And it's fascinating. Start looking at it when you get done and you see all kinds of strange creatures crawling around it. Really unique.
Yeah, I know.
I have fun harvesting wood out in the southwest. This is Arizona elm burl. And nice little natural edge piece. It just seemed to be right to leave a little more mass to this one. And it's got unique coloration and graining in it. And this, it's black walnut, but it's a very nicely grained piece of walnut. I do have a vacuum chuck that I use an awful lot, do all my bottoms and stuff like that with a vacuum chuck. It saves you a lot of time and grief. And one of the artists in our gallery has been doing some wood items, specializing in Australian woods. This one is a piece of lace wood. I haven't worked with that before. Very interesting. This one I haven't really identified. I know it's Australian, and I'm not sure what it is. I got pretty good wood identification books. Can't quite find it. I hit a QS on the end of the board. I think it's Queensland, somewhere in Australia, but I haven't chased it down beyond that. And I enjoy making some relatively small items. The little Zelda. And if you look at them, I sign these the same as I sign my bigger pieces. And that's burned in with a burning pen. I tell people I only do that to prove that not all of us old guys are free. I had a little fun with this. This is a piece of that Arizona elm burl. I turned a sphere on my lathe outside of the golf ball, so I made a tee hole. It's really interesting. We've got that cooperative gallery. I've been talking people about my turnings for 24 years. You get some really neat questions. Like, do you ever make mistakes? And my answer is no. Never. But I have a hell of a lot of design things. But the real neat piece of tool wood. Beautiful color and grain. It's so small, it's hard to see even here. And this is zebra. And then there's one more quick story. This is Osage orange and desert iron. But we were down in Arizona and I hit a wood burning shop and picked up a blank. They had a big tub full of all kinds of different turning blanks. This one looked pretty interesting. Black, white streaking, kind of in a tan streaking through it. And what it is black and white ebony. And I square blank bands all around. And I kind of save everything that is bigger than sawdust. And when I came up out of the basement after turning that bowl, showed it to my wife. She had one comment. She said, "That one's not leaving the house." But it was kind of fun. I took one of the cutoffs, and you can see the arc. This was the outside of the bowl. When I cut it off, just put it between centers on the lathe and spun it. Kept this arc, turned one on the back. And there's no finish on that. That's just sanded down to 800 grit and then buff. And it's got a nice glow. I got excited and I was going to go out and buy some more. And the only black and white ebony I could find was 3/4 inch stock. And the only one was $100 a board foot. So I'm keeping my little cutoff very careful. Okay. Thank you.
I'm a little cautious about carrying that.
Well, you know, I learned one thing in the gallery. If somebody drops one, I just simply ask if they want it for gift wrapping. Yeah, breaks the ice and then you get down to the real conversation. Okay.
So I brought in a work in progress. I tried making my first hollow turn pole. Did okay, it's smooth on the inside to a point, but I did a little concave to go down into the bowl, and my plan is to concave down in, and then I was going to make like a sphere type thing to sit in it on the bowl. Still working on that. And my main goal was to try to make something hollow that didn't explode, and successfully did that. But now working on getting I had quite a bit of tear out, and talked with a few people tonight already about what to do for fixing some of the tear out that I've had. But yeah, just a little bit of a work in progress that I started, and I'll see where it goes.
everybody needs a little mallet for carving or whatever. And I had a couple of pieces of metal, bronze and brass, and drilled and tapped both halves, screw them together, put some CA finish on them. This is a 13.2 ounces. This is 8.1 ounce. Just little taps.
It could also be used for muddling, for making Brandy Alexander.
This is white oak. It's the ordinariest piece of wood I ever put on my lathe. But when I had my sawmill, I sawed two big slabs. They're 7 feet long, big crotch on each end. Well, I was always going to make a bench for the deck, never did. Guy needed a fireplace mantle, so he took 5 feet, and I thought, well, I can't throw the other half away. I got to do something. So I started turning well, just a big platter or bowl, whatever. And I'll tell you, getting down in here, it seems I get one catch, just about get that straightened out, and I get another one. So I guess you could say this. Well, and then another thing, there was wormholes in it. I was debating whether to leave them or fill them. Well, I started with epoxy wood filler, but it didn't take the color good. So I switched to regular wood filler. When you're sanding, it's kind of hard to get it to stay nice and even. It sands quicker than the white oak. But anyway, and then the next disappointment, I went to use my general finishes. 5/8 of a gallon was like jello. So I didn't want to use linseed oil. I had that WS Easy Finish. Well, the water base just doesn't bring out the grain like I would have liked. So that was the next disappointment. Anyway, I should have used a coat of lacquer first and then put this on. But so then I thought, well, I needed a base. I had that other leg of the crotch. So I turned the base, made a bowl out of it, so they can use it for whatever. The other side is like a saucer, so I can set up like that. And then, or if you, like I say, you want to use it separately, now the hostess that buys this, she can do what she wants with it. But I didn't realize till I was picking it up today and bringing it, if I would have made just a little bit of a recess in here, then this would sit right on here very nice. And that's worth a few more bucks. What'd you say?
Fondue.
Well, great. Yeah, you can put your pot in there and your munchies around. I don't know. But like I said, it was just an ordinary piece of wood that I don't know. It would have looked much better if I would have used the oil-based finish on it. Would have brought that crotch grain out much nicer. And so you might say it's a, oh, and then I figured it needed something here. I had a file with a hole in the end, so I cut off a little bit and made a beading tool. And I was going to put another bead in, and I thought I better quit. But we're having our carving show
Jim?
in August. It'll go with that.
Set that platter on the base again so I can zoom in on it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll turn your base over instead of.
It'll work. It'll work a number of different ways. That's going to be my selling point at your carving. I used turquoise. I was going to use red and black. I did a bowl one time that way, and the women just picked it up. Everybody liked it. I didn't like the red in it, but everybody else did, and it sold, so. But, yeah, when I get it back home, I'm gonna put a little 90-degree recess in here. So it sits on there nice, and that's worth an extra few bucks then.
I turned a few parts for this ornament. I saw. I would say Steve Yoder. Guy on the internet. Tim Yoder. Tim Yoder, he made one. I thought, oh, that's pretty neat. You can put together some veneer with some of the walnut I had. I just had some walnut boards, which is a board. And then I came up with some other ones. This is zebra wood with a inlay you buy upstairs. Got bird's eye maple. I want to just put them here.
Okay.
Got a bunch of veneer. Got the lacewood along with the same inlay. This is some more of the zebra wood, and this I have no idea what that was. That was in a box. So veneer you buy for like $40, and 25% of it is walnut, 25% of it is cherry. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I never really find a use for. So this piece was only about this big. It was an odd shape, but I finally found something for that. Most of them are finished with a friction finish, but this is done with Yorkshire grit. The wife says, "What do you want for Christmas?" Can Yorkshire grit. I tell you. This is pretty slick. I really like that. I don't know if I'm be doing any more with shellac and friction type stuff, but so we have 2-inch shipping tubes. Just happen to have, some laying in the basement, and it's all veneered in wood. This was like, I don't know how I'm gonna put that together. CA. 1/2 went with CA. Well, no, that's gonna drip all over. I tried. I was gonna do epoxy, get that in there. I got a little bit on there. It's like, I don't like that either. Then I got some yellow carpenter glue, and I don't know. It all just went together. It held, but since then I make them all with hot melt. So it's all except maybe the first couple. The fits were actually well beyond what I was looking for. When I was looking for the sand this on the lathe, first time I just had some pin jaws, the fourth, and they were sitting there and it didn't turn out bad. So I went back and I watched them, looked up and picked up a whole much more information. And it was like he made a little jam chuck this way. Yeah, well, yeah, but I'd reached on there and I had some pieces of wood, and it's like I got one up there, it's too big, and got the other one, it's too small. I got the other one up there, and I said, no, that's walnut, we're not gonna use it for that. I picked up the third one. And I don't think anybody in this room could come up with a fit as absolutely perfect as this was. It was like, just went on just like that. And it was like, well, what the heck? It's just like a rod. How am I going to keep this from there? Going back and forth. So I cut up some more shipping tube, and I just glued that on. So it goes onto there, and it hits the stop. The other one I made identical, goes on there, and it just turn it like that. So that turned out pretty good. But I was so lucky with that one piece.
Yeah, it ain't gonna work out, but. So I got my 8 more to go.
What kind of glue do you use to put your veneer onto the shipping tube?
I used Titson one, the red stuff. It's pretty much all I used now for that stuff.
Did we miss anybody? Chris? Sorry.
Oh, it's my own fault, I didn't know this was.
Oh, no, bring it on up. No worries.
Hello, I'm Chris. I just got my leave in August, so everything is still. Ambrosia maple. I'm a painter by trade, so I do a lot of wood finishing and color lacquering. So the friction finish thing is like completely new to me. It's a complete alien, and I can get it to work really, really well in some aspects, but in other aspects, I'm like on bigger things. It doesn't seem to pan out as well. Like this piece of this bowl here, I'm probably gonna resand this, and I'm obsessed with lacquer. Lacquer's king. Catalyzed lacquer. There's nothing on the planet that makes wood just glow like catalyzed lacquer. I haven't seen anything yet. Some of the oils and stuff, they look really, really good at the beginning, but as things age and things are handled, it's not the same. I also, since I'm so new to this, I'm becoming obsessed with wood grain. I was obsessed with it before, but now it's taken on a whole nother meaning, along with any kind of inclusions or what people would consider is wrong with the wood, I actually really like. So the more torch something looks, the better I like it. You know, like most things that people call firewood, I want to find a way to use it. Because just the coloration in the wood and stuff, you can't. Man can make a lot of things, but it absolutely amazes me how nature made that. You know, I've done a lot of full woodwork and stuff, and no matter how much you do it, you're not mimicking what nature makes. And the same thing goes with like stone, like a marble. I have seen and done so much full marble that it'll make your stomach turn actually. But no matter how good the person is at doing it, it still never compares to what's quarried. It just doesn't. This is a piece of cherry, kind of a similar shape, because I'm still trying to find shapes that I got a little beading on the bottom too. I'm still trying to find the shapes that I like to work with. So I seem to be attracted to this kind of general shape. I don't know why. I've got a little bit of a chamfered edge up on the top. And for some reason, I kind of like my bowls a little heavier on the bottom. I don't know if it's because of paranoia of the way it sits, but I just have a tendency to leave my bottoms a little bit heavier. And then for the third piece, I just have a little walnut box. Put a little bead on the bottom so that it stands up a little bit, kind of levitates off the table. And then I have a nice little bead here just so that when you pick the piece up, you can feel that there's supposed to be a separation there. And then I have a little bit of beading there on the inside. I don't know if anybody can see that. I have noticed one thing, lighting. I need like stadium lights. Doesn't help that I'm starting to go a little bit, I can't remember if it's nearsighted, but like my glasses prescription keeps going up every year. And after I was done at turning this, I thought I had gotten everything super smooth on the inside. And you can't see it until you actually get some good light in there, but I got teed off because there's a little bit of punkiness in the wood. And I didn't notice that I have a little bit of, it's not tear out, it's in the wood, but if I would have noticed it, I would have kept, I have a little bit of, I could have kept turning it down a little bit to see if I could get rid of it. And it just ticks me off because it's your production, damn it.
Go look inside that box over. Go look inside the box over.
That's the most frustrating thing about this, you know that? It's you just get something to a certain point and everything looks just kosher dill pickle where you want it. Then I got the grain to line up on here pretty well too. That was fun. This was probably one of the funnest things I got to make.
You said you just bought it, like, what did you get?
I got a Rikon 7150 VSR.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about upgrading, but after I'm starting to scale down instead of thinking bigger. Actually, I'm starting to prefer to work smaller. It's less space. I only have a basement, so it's not like I can be that. And unless you go segmented, there's only so many places you're going to find large whole chunks of wood. You know, and as far as drying, I have nowhere to dry everything. I've talked to my parents a little bit, and they finally said that I can start drying some stuff in the shop. But in all honesty, after I sat and thought about it, because I tried talking to my wife into letting me get a bigger lathe, because this all started on she called me a chicken. I'd done some mild woodworking before, you know, and she's like, well, why don't you use a lathe? And I explained to her, well, I don't know how I feel about high-speed objects and then ramming sharp things into it. So she started calling me a chicken. And finally, eventually, I'm like, fine, I'll get a damn lathe. And now I'm absolutely, I'm talking to my wife. Just convince her you're scared. And she'll do everything in her power to push you towards it. What was that?
You sound like you regret getting that big.
Actually, I think my lathe is the perfect size. It can, on outboard turning, I can go up to 15 inches. Inboard, it's technically it's like 10 because if you put the tool rest underneath it. But if you've got like the 12-inch tool rest, you can kind of sneak by depending on how long the object is and get the full 12. But I sat and I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm not really. 12 and 15 inches is a pretty big object. You know, then enough people have told me about things blowing up and scattering. I've been lucky enough to only have one object go flying across the room, followed by "What was that?" You know.
The secret there is you never stand in line for the rotating object.
I still get nervous.
Offset.
Even though I stand to the side.
And there's enough thrill when they go by your head.
That and watching objects blow up on YouTube doesn't help either.
You said you had a little punky area in there.
Yeah.
You know, the best way to do that is stop and stabilize it. There's a wood hardener, or you can CA glue, and then go.
I never saw it. That was the problem.
Yeah.
While I was hollowing it out, it was so dark, and I have actually really good lights above the lathe, but I have to buy a gooseneck because once this got hollowed out to about that far down, it was midnight inside there.
Look up Cindy Drozda. She's a professional wood turner. She sells a little LED light that's magnetic that'll clip right onto your tool rest. The light is focused directly into what you're working on. And it's not out of the way.
I actually steal a lot of her tools.
Yes.
For grinding and stuff. I use her grinding formulas.
Well, she's got that little LED light. I mean, that is fabulous. I leave it on my tool rest all the time. It puts the light right where you want it, inside the bowl, inside the object. Yeah.
Kind of like a flashlight.
Yeah, but it's LED. And it's unlike the gooseneck ones where you've got to focus and bend them. It's always in the way, that gooseneck at some point, or your head is hitting it, or your tool handle's hitting it. That LED light just puts it right where it has to be.
Because I was using Milwaukee magnetic lights. They're just a little
Yeah.
tower light about this tall. It's got a magnet on one end and if the piece is big enough, I can get away with sticking that right on the back of the tool rest
Yes,
and get enough light. But once you start getting into something that small,
that's why that little LED light, you can get it up high to the top of the tool rest and it'll focus it right in there for you.
do you know how, by any chance how much it costs?
$35, I think.
25.
I think she's gone up on her price to 35
I was
now.
gonna say that's it. I'm gonna have to look.
It
into
it was
that.
25.
Wonder says for
Huh?
1995. Turner's Wonder says one. for
Okay.
1995.
Why don't you have the wife hold a flashlight?
Because the only thing the wife wants out of me is product. And she's told me that. In fact, over this last Christmas, I think in the last week and a half, I've done 2 pens, 1 mechanical pencil, 2 coffee scoops, and 3 ice cream scoops. And every time I came up out of the basement, my wife basically was pointing back into the basement with another kit. And she used to hate coming here with me when I was buying like lathing equipment and stuff like that. But now that I'm wood turning, it's kind of funny because they went from hating coming here to as soon as we walk in the door, she goes right to the wood pile and to right to the kit section. So I almost feel like this was all a plan to enslave me. Which is all right, because like I said, I can't stop. This is the only thing that I think about from even sitting at work. I talk to the carpenters all the time about what I can scam off of them as far as just stock and I don't know. It's out of all the things that I've done artistically through my life, and I've done everything from fine art painting to tattooing to sculpting. For some reason, this is the most satisfying thing I've done. And I think it's because of form and function.
Yeah.
That no matter what you make, there's function for it. Whereas fine art, you can hang it on a wall, that's great, it looks beautiful. But it's a different story to see something you make and somebody using it, you know? And like I said, I love the idea that with painting, you're forcing your will onto the canvas to come up with an image. Whereas I feel like this, the beauty's already been made for you. All you're doing is giving it form and function. And that makes it so much better. You know, it's not a battle. You're just trying to find a happy medium between the two. I'm sorry for that one.
Anybody else? Did we miss anybody? So this was my last turning for 2023 or 2022. If you saw it on Facebook, I know some of you did. That's how big it is. And that's a piece of mountain ash that's all the longer than it was. So I made a buckthorn stopper, not the best threads in the world. That will go on Etsy because there are some folks who buy on Etsy, and if you post something made out of mountain ash, they'll buy it. I don't get it. These are my first turnings for 2023. Actually did these today. They don't even have any finish on them yet. I think they're basically going to be practice pieces. There's some things about them that I was talking to my wife before we headed this direction. They're kind of unsaleable, I think, whatever. So these may not look like wood turned items, but I did use my lathe to make them. They're pipes. I got asked by a kid at church if I would help him make a pipe, and I talked to his dad and said, the kid was asking me to help him make a pipe. Says, yeah, he says it's all right. He's growing a tobacco plant in his room.
It's right next to the whiskey.
Oh, he's a good kid, good family. So this was my first effort. I wouldn't ever even try to smoke this because it's mulberry, but I thought I ought to use something just to find out what happens. And I drilled the smoke hole too long, so it has this plug in it. I come to find out that that's a real thing with people that
better draft.
Well, no, they don't want to waste the smoke, so they call that a carburetor. So they get the smoke up in here. Now, most of the pipes that have them have more of a smoke chamber in them, and then they'll keep their finger over the hole, but then they'll get that last little bit of the taupe by taking their finger off of the hole, so they don't waste that precious smoke. I understand, I've only read about this. So the way that I use the wood lathe is different than anything I saw on any of the pipe making YouTubes or anything. I have that small scroll chuck that I talked about back in November when I did the demo. And that scroll chuck, I would cut a tenon on the 2 axes that I wanted to drill. And so then I grab that in the scroll chuck and then drill the smoke hole and the tobacco hole using that small scroll chuck. And you can turn a little bit of this away, but there's a lot of handwork in these. Just no matter what you do, you're going to do a lot of carving. What I used is I have a flexible shaft tool with a saber tooth bit on it. Saber tooth bit I got when Rebecca DeGroot did her demo for us last year. She shared a discount code. You can get those directly from Saber Tooth and get a little bit off of them. And you just carve wood off of them, carve them to the shape that you want. This is mulberry. This is pear. Pear is supposedly one of the woods that actually will work better for smoking tobacco. Briar is the big thing, but I'm not going to spend $45 for a chunk of wood that I might screw up. So, but some of the fruit woods apparently are more amenable to being smoked with. Anyway, it was fun to do. I don't know, between vacations and one thing and the other, I haven't been able to connect with the young man yet. So this worked way better than I thought it would. The only thing that, if I had any idea how long this was going to run, we would have tried to schedule a break. So there's very little wood here tonight for wood raffle, so I think we're going to take a pass on that. I think I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Encourage you to go upstairs if you have anything you need from Woodcraft. Otherwise, stick around and fellowship a little bit with the folks. Really appreciate you coming out tonight. I really appreciate all the participation with the show and tell. We're going to have to figure out how to do this maybe a little more often. Just schedule a night like this and do this. Because usually it's an indication of poor planning by the program coordinator. So thanks again. Any comments from anybody? Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thanks. Yeah.